Hello, it's Sunday night here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. It's only 5:30. It's dark outside. I'm not a big fan of winter. I've already exercised my dog, come into work to discuss ethics with you for the last time. This is our final module. So take care of a few things first. The This is the last module, and the class ends officially December 2nd, which is this Friday. So make sure your paper is emailed to me by Friday evening, and that would give me time to grade it before the final. The final will be open between the 5th and the 7th. I know the syllabus says the 9th, but this gives me time to grade it before Blackboard shuts down, which it does on the 11th or 12th. So I'll send out an announcement to you to give you another heads up, but the final will be open 5th through the 7th. Let's talk a little bit about this assignment for this week and the chapter 14, Caring for Others. Want you to think about it. Well, in the chapter, it's a lot about feminist theory, and I've worked a lot at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, which was a little more liberal university. I've been through a lot of different university settings, both private, church-based universities and small private universities, and then more liberal institutions. And so I've worked with different theories or theoreticians for lots of years, and pretty much balanced my approach. And I'll talk a little bit more about my approach since it's the end of the semester, and feel a little more free to do that. First of all, the voice that the chapter talks about, I think that's real important in criminal justice. And it's not a cookie cutter experience trying to determine who has a voice, who wants to have a voice in a criminal justice experience or charge or assault or event, or however you want to put it. I'll give you an example. Worked a case last week that I'm still trying to wrap my poor brain around. It was a certification case, which is a transfer to adult court hearing. And what happened was, we, right here in this room where I'm at now, last week brought a boy in on a forcible rape charge. He's 16. The victim is 18-year-old female. And the allegations are that the female went to his house to basically break off a internet relationship. They'd never actually dated, but she had apparently flirted with him on social media, and she went. Her statement is she went to his house to break off any contact. She felt like she was leading him on, and as she talked to him in the house, is the point where he grabbed her, forcibly raped her, and there were, when she did report it, which she did, I think 2 days after the event, the detectives that worked the case, of course, sent her to our victims unit that does the medical. There was no physical evidence other than bruising on her body. So I guess that is physical evidence. She had marks on her face, on her buttocks, on her side. There were some bruises, and so there was physical evidence, just not the more in-depth evidence that sometimes we like to make more clear-cut cases on rape cases. So, and I won't go into that. That's evidentiary. But anyhow, this kid, so I have officers working with the victim to make sure she's okay. She's upset. She's missing work. We're trying to explain the case to her, let her know she can come to court, let her know she can be here. She didn't want to come unless she had to testify. And then on the offender side, we're dealing with an attorney who basically was pretty much a horse's butt and just made some real off the wall comments in court, and also didn't quite realize that my officers had a conversation, even though it was brought up by my officer that yes, we had staffed this with the prosecutor's office. He didn't ask the questions, well, what did the prosecutor want to do? Well, basically, the prosecutor doesn't want this case. They wanted us to handle it as a juvenile case. But since that question wasn't asked, you have to remember court is an antagonistic environment, even in juvenile court, and my attorney makes his case and then rest, and it's up to the defense to bring out all of this evidence. Well, this guy didn't even bring anything out on the defense for this 16-year-old juvenile. And so what happened was the judge certified him, transferred him to adult court. So like I said, I'm sitting here in the back because I'm a spectator at this point as a supervisor. I'm wondering what the hell just happened, because this 16-year-old kid was transferred to adult court when I thought we could work with him in our juvenile programming. Wondering who screwed up, what happened. And remember, we're talking about supervisory issues here. I want you to think like a supervisor. You're students now, but you're getting a master's degree. You're preparing yourself to eventually lead. And so, this ain't over yet. I have things I can do both with the chief prosecutor's office, with the kid, but to try to see that he is served in the juvenile court still and possibly has a chance where sending him to prison, he won't have a chance. And so, the juvenile court, to give you a little bit on the lens where I'm coming from, it's a little different than adult court and adult officers who would just be looking at the offense, the prosecution, sending him off. He's gone. I don't have to worry about him in my community till he comes back 4 or 5 years from now. In juvenile court, we're both trying to give a voice to the office, to the officer's report, making sure the officer's report and all the evidence is in front of the judge. We are trying to meet a community standard of what is expected. On this case, it's a forcible rape. So trying to meet what the community would expect if juvenile court did have juries, which they don't. The victim's voice. Not only did one of my female officers spend time talking to her about the case and all that, and that officer was off after this case was out. So I was the one that went to the victim to let her know what happened, and she basically didn't want to know what happened. And so I don't know if she'll call my female officer later. There's a chance she wasn't comfortable speaking to me about the case, and so maybe she'll talk to my female officer more. But, we're trying to give a voice to all parties. Lot of stress comes from my job and from, I think, in the whole criminal justice system, is there's a little bit of helplessness because the attorneys handle the case. And I wanted to give you an example of that. So attached to the module will be my budget that I was working on hard this week. This is the week we turn in our budget for 2017. So I want you to open that up and look through what a budget looks like for an agency that's $500,000. So $500,000 for 100,000 people in this 3-county area is spent on juvenile court programs, treatment services, vehicles, gasoline, lights, heat, laptops, flags behind the judge, everything. So just scan the budget. And what I want you to look at, there's a lot of verbiage in the front of it for 2 pages. But on page 3, if you just scan down it quickly at the figures, you're going to look at $1,000 and you're going to look at what costs the most. And I suggest you use this artifact in writing a paper or even in an assignment. If you teach intro to criminal justice at some point, Joe, I'm talking to you, use budgets as a way to find out how organizations are just, how they care for staff, how they care for their clientele. And if you scan my budget real quick, you will see a number jump out at you, and that is the money spent on attorneys to run juvenile court. You'll also see some big figures for treatment programs, which I would like to balance out. I wish my attorney budget was equal to my treatment budget. It's fairly close, but I'm still heavy on paying for lawyers. And so what I'm trying to get across is lawyers have the largest voice in our operation. So just be advised, when you're looking at these chapters, the few chapters to complete this paper, how to achieve a just and caring staff in a criminal justice agency. Remember that the dollar has something to do with that. Remember that budgets are real important. How much is actually spent on things? And who has the voice? Watch some court yourself and see who speaks the most. Who has the voice in our criminal justice agency these days? And I think I'll get off my soapbox with that. One other thing about caring and about justice, I want you to watch one more video for me, please. And today's Sunday. I have a all office staff meeting at the end of the month, the last Monday of the month, every month, to bring all my officers together. I try to bring someone in that provides a treatment or program in our community to talk with the officers about what's going on so they know what agencies to refer to. They can actually see these people face to face. And then when they're talking to families, they can describe their program, make contact, build their own relationships with these people that provide treatment services. So I'm going to ask permission tomorrow for be able to record these individuals talking about treatment services they provide in our community. And then I'll have to shut it off because then those people leave and we talk about individual cases. But I think it'll be a good example to you of what I do to work on my staff, to try to look at justice issues, which is basically giving people a voice. Let's just bring it home with that. Justice is making sure everyone is on that transcript behind me. When the court goes into session, it's transcribed so it can be appealed, so it can go to the Supreme Court if some travesty occurs and justice doesn't happen and someone appeals it. We want more than the lawyers speaking, but when the lawyers do speak, we want them backed up by the community, the victims, the officers, whether they're police officers on the stand or juvenile officers behind the scene. But I want you to understand that this whole book that Banks put together is not about individuals. It's a lot about management and a lot about running the entire organization. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, it does how much justice I've produced or caring I've produced for my clients in the past 32 years. What programs I've run over those years. It's probably too many that I can sit here and name right now. But it's not about me. It's not about the boss. It's not about what that individual did as much as how much leadership that I've brought into my whole culture organization to create that caring environment. Or if you're a police officer, a prosecuting attorney, what you've done, because there's so much you can't see. There's so much. I have an officer right now out working with clients in the street trying to supervise kids that aren't detained but are awaiting court. So he's talking to families right now and will be until 11 o'clock tonight. I don't know what he's saying to them. I talked to him a little bit before he went on shift today, but that goes on in 3 counties just in my little world. So think about how much goes on elsewhere. But I'm going to attach the statute for certifying juveniles in this module, just so you know. It's something that, I don't do very often, but it's a very serious event when it does happen, when you transfer a kid to adult court. So it is something that is like the top of the pyramid for the juvenile court system across the country. I'm going to also attach my budget, which again I think is a very good device to see where the money is and where the county or where the state puts their goals, and you just can't, without sufficient funds, you're just talking. So you'll see my budget. I'm sure this budget will be approved. It's been sort of pre-approved already, but so you can look at this. This isn't pie in the sky. This is what I've done every year for the county of, or the circuit, the 32nd Judicial Circuit. And so one final thing, if you've watched it this long, the final exam. Remember, it is open between the 5th and the 7th, December 5th and 7th. It will be over chapters 11, 12, and 13. So it's not comprehensive over the whole book. Don't memorize anything. Use your brain and your heart in this class. And so look at chapters 11, 12, and 13. Scan them. Pull out anything from the modules that you can to cite. Remember, citations are good because I read things that obviously don't come from you. It probably wouldn't even come from me. It would probably come from somebody like Dr. Lambert. So please use your own words. I want to know what you're thinking and where you're going to take this. It's been an enjoyable class for me. I've really looked at the material hard and how it will work the rest of my career. So thank you for putting up with these little videos, and good luck to you all.